Hello, Sagittarius. How is everybody doing today? I hope you're doing great. I'm really looking forward to reading for you today. We had some magical sort of energy coming through in your totems, especially. I love it when it aligns with who you are. And we got fire energy here. I saw fireworks as I was getting up, and I also saw like a dragon. So I did some research, and we're going to talk about that in your totem. Really portends good things for you. And I'm going to put down sweet little Apollo here so we can get started. A little bit of love from this guy to all of you. Thank you so much. My name is Nicholas Ashbaugh if you're brand new. And if you are brand new, I want to welcome you and just give you a couple of notes on how everything is going to be set up today. What I do here, you can basically use for sun, rising, moon, Venus, any aspect of your chart. Sometimes I forget to say that at the beginning. Also, the very beginning messages are structured in such a way that almost anybody that shows up today, it should resonate with, because I'm clairvoyant and I tune into the energy of whoever's going to watch live or on replay. The overall structure of this is as such. We'll begin with all of these messages here. I have enough to kind of fill up the whole table. These come through in dreams, meditations, and then the act here of automatic writing. And that portion is basically, like I said, a psychic download. So we'll go through that first. Then I'll use the cards to create a Celtic Cross that's going to show us even more of the opportunities, even more of the sort of like hidden twists and turns for the month ahead. It is very much a general portion of it. So I don't like focus it just on love or career, because we're all at different points in our life. Whatever needs to come up will come up at that point. Then we will look at some specific areas in the expanded portion where you can look at health, wealth, love, and destiny. After we go through all of that and look at like the big idea, what everything is about for the month, I'll go into some new sections, which I just added in the past couple of months. Blessings and blocks, just like they sound, things that could help, things that could sometimes pull you back or push you to the side. By knowing that, you can avoid the blocks. And then a viewer's choice question, and something that I want to look at too, a soul path or reader's choice question. And then after that, we'll meditate. If I have the ability to do it, I'll allow you to choose which instrument. I have a triangle and a bowl. So I think I'll start to allow you guys to choose which one that you want. If I can do 2 polls, I'll do that. And then we'll go into a final card at the very end, which will allow you at that point to ask me a question. So I don't do Q&A as I read, but at the very end, you can meditate on a question. And rather than having you like pick a card, I'll just pull a general card that will kind of look at the energy of all the people asking questions. Okay, so that's the format. And without further delay, let's get into this. Just one or two quick notes as I'm getting set up for this. I would say, first of all, welcome everybody. I'm really close to a milestone. When I hit the milestone, I'll do an extra video, probably towards the end of this month or at the beginning of next month. I'm actually only about 150 subscribers away from hitting the milestone. So if you're brand new, you've never been here and you like what you see, hit that subscribe button. It'll help everybody win on this, basically, because I'll do, like I said, a Q&A video for everyone. And liking is free, so is subscribing. But if you're already a member and you want to show support, liking is always a great way to show engagement. If you watch on replay, you can send support through the thanks button. And you can do it here in real time by clicking on SuperChat. And if I can find the card here, I'll show you what that looks like. It's this little dollar sign right by the emojis there. You can also join the channel through that. And there we go. Just like that, you can give back a little bit. And for anybody that does this at the very end, I will read out your name. So if you're a new channel member or if you give back, it's a great way for me to do more videos. And it's I'll just say thank you at the very end. Now let's get into the forecast. So this morning, I had such a sort of like visceral experience in this stream. It felt very lifelike that I had to wake up and just remind myself it was a dream. But I was trying to find a way to light a firework of some sort of fireworks display. I was having some difficulties doing that. We'll talk about it in a minute. But that brings us to our first totem, which is fireworks. And I'm just going to let like all the different colors and types kind of show up here. We're all familiar with that. A fun fact, though, as I was doing some research, it actually started as a tradition in ancient China where there were bamboo, basically, that were little stalks of bamboo that were thrown into a fire, and the heated air pockets would kind of cause like a crackling or like a popping sound. And that was kind of like one of the first types of fireworks that was created. Your second totem, which we'll get into in a second, is an azure or a bluish green dragon that came through. So I did some research on what that symbolized in Chinese mythology or traditions, and we'll talk about that. Okay, so let's start with the fireworks. So as I said, I watched as someone was trying to light a firework display of some sort, and initially there wasn't enough of a spark to make that kind of connection or that ignition of the firework. So for me, one thing that I'm seeing here for some of you is you could be feeling a little bit of fatigue. You could be having a little bit of trouble or challenge getting something started. So a firework or fireworks in general, it's like turning the ignition, right? So this was that ignition piece before the engine would fire up and everything. Something was going there. So you want to take care of your health, take care of yourself, and then also remember, just like an old car, if the new ones, I drive a Prius, you just push a button because it's a hybrid. But back in the day, you had to sometimes crank it a couple times because the car was old, it didn't quite work. This is kind of what I was getting with your firework display, was that there was something that a little bit more energy, a little bit more of a spark is needed. The second or third attempt looked like it worked. So great ideas often need time, patience, and sometimes they even need revision. One misstep, one setback does not mean that what your idea is somehow wrong. It just means that you might need to revisit it, or the timing, or the sort of like even the placement of it. Time and place could have a big role in how acceptable or sort of how much something takes off. So nowadays we would use the term viral. So I feel like you have that opportunity to kind of have a viral or like a big impact, but you have to sometimes try a few different approaches. For those of you that work in something like what I do here, content creation, you know that not every idea takes off. You just keep trying, you keep revising until your format or until your video kind of hits what it needs to. It's the same sort of thing with any idea. Not everything's going to be golden, but it's about your sort of overall average and your persistence. That's what really matters here. So what you want to be doing is revising, reimagining, and then also reigniting your vision. I think you're nearly there, so don't give up. Okay, that's one of the big messages that was coming through as I was tuning in to, why is this firework display not lighting up? I talked about the origin to bamboo, which I thought was really interesting. And basically that heated air needed a way to get out, so it was causing a little mini explosion. And so this is very long ago too. This would be like the 2nd century in BC time. So quite a long time ago. But the pressure is what I wanted to focus on there. Some of you may find yourself in a pressure test. You may also feel like you're thrown into the hot seat, all of these sort of phrases that we use. I mean, thankfully, you're fire, so you can deal with this. It's just a matter of how you're going to react here. So you need to find a way to release stress. I think this is one of the key things. So for those of you that are put into situations where it just feels like there's a lot going on, talk to someone. Definitely express concern if you think something's unrealistic. The sooner you can do something like that, the better. The longer you do it, the more it becomes a pressure cooker. So if you say something often and early, you'll be able to kind of redirect the flow of something. So a relationship, this is a great example here. We don't have to just be talking about work. So if you just moved in with someone, or you have a new roommate, or you've been married for a long time, it doesn't matter. But there's something that your roommate or partner or friend is doing that's driving you kind of crazy. If you can address it like before many, many months, years, or decades pass, it's going to be a lot easier for that person to react to it. But if you wait a long time and you're like, and I hate it when you do this, it's sort of like, why didn't you say that earlier? Sometimes we try to be polite, but if it's something that really needs to be addressed, it would be better to do it in the moment while it can be corrected, or earlier on before it becomes set in as a habit. So talk early, talk often. Fireworks are very conspicuous, obviously. They're a big explosion in the sky with a bunch of light, right? So this to me suggests a breakthrough or breakout moment. I guess the question for some of you is, are you ready for the attention that sometimes accompanies that? Because just like the world or the star, part of that is going to require standing out and shining, right? So, and it has a little bit of both of these. It also has tower energy, which we'll talk about. But the star card I really like, and we did a meditation, I think the last sign that I read for, where we're kind of like a new star being born, and you kind of, all that dust and all that energy, it has to find a way to have order. So for some of you, you're going to be doing some of that sorting out. You might be thrown in the middle of something. You have to create order from disorder or chaos, and it's going to put you in a position where people will also be holding you accountable. So that can be a little scary, but it can also be awesome, and it's a great growth opportunity. Okay. Fireworks are volatile. I was actually nervous in the dream when I was looking at it. I didn't want to hold on to it. I was like, we got to put that over here. So sometimes they're hard to control. It could also be like a 10 of Swords moment, where things, if you've ever been in an argument sometimes, or really kind of just passionate moment, words come out of your mouth sometimes and you think, did I just say what I think I said? So I really want you to take a deep breath as you're speaking. Make sure that you have a plan. This is an example of having a plan. It doesn't have to be all of these. You could just have something on your phone, a couple bullet points. Know what you want to say, and maybe practice saying what you need to say before it comes out. And if it's in the moment, you can take a deep breath, and you can even say, I didn't mean that to sound the way that it did, but I'm glad it's out there. Let's talk about it. How are you feeling? Get some feedback, leave a pause, let the person digest a little bit. And if you do more earlier, the 10 of Swords moment won't happen. Now, I also think the fireworks can be a tower, because the tower is exploding. Like lightning hits it, the tower is falling. So the fireworks can also be a loud, transformative, and memorable event that would be signified by the tower. So this moment in time, this sort of fireworks moment, could be something that's just been a long time coming. And maybe even if it is like you say something, it will create change, and you can't undo it. A fireworks display, once it's exploded, it's transformed, and then it's something else. So once you decide to kind of move down a certain path, I'm seeing, unlike the 8 of Cups where you can go back, it feels like you are ready to make a significant shift or change that is important, but it's maybe not retractable. So that happens sometimes in our lives, and it's not necessarily the worst thing. It can be really good because it breaks through stagnation. It really allows for growth to happen. I think it could be really exciting for you. Examples of this can be a proposal to someone, a divorce paper, paperwork that you have to sign. It could be putting in your letter of resignation. It could be buying a house. They're good tower moments, many of them. The divorce depends on how you look at it, but all of these things, once you sign on the dotted line, your life is different, because you're going to decide to embark on something new. It can be deciding to become a citizen, to move to another country, like big shifts that are going to say, I identify differently than I did before because of this, this, and this. I'm something else. I'm someone else. My title's changing, my nationality or whatever. So for many of you, what we're looking at, and if you're not ready, like in the month of November, we're very close to it. And that's where this reading is really centered in. It may kind of trickle into December and January, but we're seeing a change on the horizon. The question that Spirit has for you is like, when are you ready to step into that change, right? The thing here is that you can either cause a commotion, a splash, or a scene. Control is going to be important here. So one of the other cards in tarot that I was thinking of when I was meditating on this would be the Chariot, trying to find a way to rein things in, reining yourself in, maybe reining in other people. Definitely you have leadership potential this month. It's just a question of how comfortable you feel when you're kind of put into a leadership position. So I think you're ready. I think you have exactly the right mix of skills. And we're going to talk about it at the end. But because you're a mutable sign, very flexible, you're very able to kind of bend where other signs, where cardinal signs and fixed signs may have a harder time. I do feel like you'll have this ability to kind of bend like a willow if you need to. All right, let's look now at what the fireworks is becoming. So what was starting to take shape, and this is just as I woke up, but it was a beautiful dragon, and I couldn't tell if it was blue green or bluish green. So we're going to say it's blue green or azure or something like that. As I was doing some research, the combination of blue and green dragons can represent spring, clear sky, clear mind, growth, healing, rest, and also recovery. Pretty good things, actually. And whatever this transformative tower moment is, I think it's going to pave a path for renewal and invigoration in your life. So if you've been really, really stuck, it's kind of like a plant that's root bound and you put it in a bigger pot. all of this, it won't grow immediately, but given a few weeks and a little bit of water and a little bit of, good weather, all of a sudden, roots start to go a little deeper, buds start to form. And I feel like if you give yourself that time to settle, something that I just recapped the last sign that I read for. So Scorpio has going through some similar things. So you might just need a little bit of time to deal with the change, but once you do, really cool stuff starts to happen to you. So making a change can be the hardest part, just physically kind of following through on it. But I do think it's worth the effort. And you want to release, well, think about this. When you release something, then it creates openness and space, just like taking a field that you've farmed, and you let it rest sometimes, and then you decide, what am I going to put in this? So we need to create space. If you just kept trying to plant amidst all of the old stuff, it couldn't grow. So sometimes we have to go in there and remove. So there could be like some physical removal in your life that you're doing, getting rid of old property, getting rid of old belongings, clearing out even the friend circles and deciding who's in there to support me, who's in there reciprocating, and who's just creating noise, right? So a clearing is necessary here, kind of like, a farmer would go through and clear the fields. The one thing that you want to avoid right now is the Four of Pentacles, which can be holding on for dear life to something. Can be a scarcity or a fear-based mentality. And so really what you want to focus on instead are expansive thoughts. What if this happens? Or how can I do this? Looking at possibilities, looking at the future. So as I did additional research on a dragon that may be connected to these colors, lo and behold, there is one. It's called, I looked up the pronunciation, and I'll do my best. It's pronounced, or it's spelled like this, and I think it's Xinglong. It's an azure dragon, and it's a holy symbol representing the East and royalty. And also, like I said, all of those things with like healing is associated with that color as well. Because of this, because of the Eastern cardinal direction on this, I wanted to pay attention to the fact that the sun rises in the East. And it's a symbol that reminds us to look toward tomorrow, to look towards a new day, to look towards the future, not so much towards the rearview mirror. And yes, that's it. So the next thing that I wanted to mention was, just as a dragon's breath can create or destroy, your thoughts can do the same. They always can. And as a mutable sign, I believe that you have the adaptability. It's part of your DNA and the flexibility. It's really your birthright, right? So if you want to, and if you're ready to at this moment in time, I think that your spark can ignite some really exciting things. Allow it to be carried by the wind. Imagine that in this moment, you can be carried to a new direction. One of the things you want to really think about is, am I ready for what tomorrow brings? And for the person asking for the spelling, by the way, I was right. It was Qinglong. So that's how you spell it. You can look it up later. But again, it's associated with the East, and a new day is what I really see for you. So are you the kind of person that is waxing nostalgic and looking at the past? Or are you the type of person that is dreaming, doing, and creating tomorrow? This particular reading is suggesting that you can learn from the past, but you need to live in today and tomorrow. Focus on the creation aspects and figure out, where is your spark? Where is your flame going to be carried? Because that's what Sagittarius can do best. You can kind of mold into new things if you need to. Use your flexibility to really, and this sort of like, when I think of a dragon, the other thing in like Greek mythology that I would associate this with, or Roman, is like Hephaestus or Vulcan, the ability to mold and transform. So that mutable, moldable, flexible energy is going to be really important for you. You have the capacity to create, do that. Letting go, releasing, destroying is going to be part of that. And oftentimes gods are associated with both creation and destruction, because they're very similar energies, and they're, I would say, codependent energies. You need to destroy in order to create sometimes. There are certain types of plants, for instance, in the forest that the seeds require fire. So like a forest fire can allow certain types of wild flowers to germinate. So it's kind of interesting how nature is adapted to the creative and destructive forces. So anyway, for you, I think it's going to be an exciting month ahead. I think that your passion, your voice, and your ability to sort of figure out what you want to do with your passion is going to be key. And like I said, you can cause a commotion, a splash, or a scene. So it's going to really depend on how you rein it in and how you sort of focus it. Okay. So let's move on to the main portion here where we're going to look at the Celtic Cross. And if you missed any of this, I always do a recap. It can take me up to 2 days. I usually do 2 at once, so I may do it all Friday. But you'll be able to see it on the community tab here on YouTube, as well on all my social media networks. So if you haven't followed me, I'm going to give you a quick link so that you can do that. Here is my website where you can find out the schedule and all of that. And here is a link to social media networks. And I'll just show you a quick page here with all of them listed. So I'm pretty much just my name on everything, Nicholas Ashbaugh. I have a verified check mark on Facebook, the same thing on YouTube. I don't have it yet on Instagram, but it's my name. There are imposters that will pop up sometimes. So know this, I do not offer free readings through chat. I will not ask for anything through chat. I don't use DMs at all. If anyone comments in the comment fields on any social media platform and asks you to connect with them on WhatsApp, run the other way, report it, let me know about it. If you see any imposters, let me know about it and report it as well. Twitter is the only one that has a slightly different handle. Again, you can always find out the official handles by going to my website, or even here on YouTube, it's on the About page. Okay, so let's get into the reading and see what's coming through for you over the next 6 to 8 weeks. Welcome, everybody. I hope you're doing well, by the way. Again, Sun, Rising, Moon, Venus, or any aspect. And if you're not sure, just stick around and watch it. You'll get messages. Haven't used this deck in a while, and I felt like having the sort of like dreamy quality that it has. Perfect. We got the Fire Guardian there. Nicely connected to our totems today for you. Perfectly connected to you. The uprooting or transplanting energy also coming through with that. And the Tower energy also coming through with this. So we got a lot of decent synchronicities popping up in the cards. All right, let's take a look at all these messages, and we'll begin with the Fire Guardian. It says, ignite your passions. The card was reversed, so that nicely aligns to what I was talking about earlier, where there could be a moment where you're wondering, why hasn't this worked yet? So for those of you that have tried to get something started, this is alluding to the fact that, yes, maybe it didn't start at the beginning. We do have sort of this angelic presence here. We see you represented here with the fire, and you have that spark within. You might need to just put a little bit more of yourself into it, or maybe bring it back to the authentic or traditional vision that you had for yourself or for this thing that you're trying to create, and just keep pushing. Don't give up. Be relentless. And I would also say it's possible to both be like persistent and flexible, because I think you're going to have to do a little bit of both. Keep working hard, keep thinking of different ways to go about it. So innovation, hard work, and trust in that vision. Okay. Ultimately, I was seeing maybe 2 to 3 attempts to allow that to get where it needs to be, but I like it. You're being guided. And remember, looking towards the east, looking towards the new day. The center card is indicative of a new movement in your life. We have the Fool here. Lovely sort of almost like blurred animation with this card. So once the movement starts to happen, this reminds me of What Dreams May Come, where he was first starting to deal with being like in spirit, and everything kind of looked like a painting and was blurred. So like I said, when you start something new, it's hard to make out the details sometimes. How will I fit in? What would it be like to be out of a relationship or in a relationship? What does it feel like to graduate and have a different experience, or to not have this title, to retire? How are people looking at me? So many of you are in different levels at different points in your life, in or out of a relationship, in or out of a job, retiring, starting something new. And it's sort of like, how do I feel in this new moment? You'll find yourself. You have to just keep moving. And that's what this card is showing. Okay. On top of this, we have patience, which may be the hardest thing for many of us to master. So with temperance here, it's about being patient, taking one step at a time, putting one foot in, maybe keeping one foot out, kind of feeling that, what do I like more? Am I okay with this? Am I still me? So this is really what we're seeing, is that new foundational energy between these two sort of dreamy cards, okay? And I think that when you look at the environment, not the environment, but actually wealth and career and purpose, we have this tree upside down. The interesting thing is that we see that the reflection of the tree and even the roots of the tree are just as important as what's above ground. So some of you are doing some unearthing, or there's like this new sort of reveal. And have you ever noticed that when something's gone, you notice how strong you are? So for those of you that have lost a parent, a job, money, or anything significant, a boyfriend or girlfriend or a husband or a wife, it can be a breakup, or it can be sort of like, again, something more significant or more permanent, like death. But once there's an absence of something that you depended on, it's just like your body. If there's a weakness, it finds strength in other parts. Like our brain will compensate if a part is damaged, like the other parts work harder. You find it within yourself. There's strength that you didn't know you had. And when you get out of something where there's a codependency, or there's been someone who chiseled away at your self-confidence, when you step into that void without that noise there, all of a sudden you start to realize what they were saying wasn't true, or that you're stronger than you thought, that you have more power than you realized. And I think for many of you, you are reclaiming, rediscovering, or building upon your power. So we see growth in that area, and it may surprise you. It shouldn't. But if it does, go with it and think, wow, I didn't know I could do that. This is cool. Don't get freaked out. It gets better. All right, we have the Knight of Swords reversed in the deep past. Many of you have been waiting a long time for something to happen. And it's sort of like, when, why? We've been talking about this, I feel, for the past 2 or 3 signs. So the movement is already there, but the speed is maybe not what you want. Again, what I love about this particular deck is everything's moving. You can't actually really make out what's going on, because sometimes it's going on subtly. Energy works in very subtle ways. So it's not all what we see, or even what we see here. There's a lot of other things going on beneath the surface. So you're actually further along than you think. One of the most important things that you could do this month is ask pertinent questions. So whenever you have a court card in swords that's reversed, it's about being outspoken. And I really like both pages and knights, because they're easier to deal with when reversed. So this is just about raising your hand at school and saying, I thought you said this, or when is this, like asking that kind of question. If it's your partner, they said they were going to do something, maybe they forgot, you could just say, are we still clear on this? And you remember tomorrow, right? And the question can also be a reminder, and it's a better way of making sure that it's not saying like, hey, I know you forgot about this. So there's different ways that you can kind of interject that is softer, but definitely speak up and definitely ask the questions. And it can also be direct. If someone's running late, say, did you forget? Do you need a ride? Do you need a wake-up call? What's going on? So just be there to be direct and push, because the other person will receive and they'll work with you, and it's not going to be a bad thing. I had someone who was a little late to one of my readings the other day, and I just called them. I said, are we on or are we not? They had fallen asleep and I knew something was up. I thought they're not coming. So don't be afraid to nudge. It's okay. If you have to nag, that's a different thing. One nudge is okay. or, just asking a question. If it turns to nagging, then you want to look at the next card here, which is the Eight of Cups. And this is breaking a cycle because the card was reversed. And the cool thing with Eight of Cups, for many of you, that if you are a little bit hesitant, I see energy towards the beginning of the month where you do have a little bit of an open doorway. I believe that by the end of the month, your judgment, your decision is going to be required, because we do have the judgment card actually was upright. So we have the Eight of Cups here reversed, breaking a cycle, and we have judgment upright at the end of the month. So you have a little bit of wiggle room at the beginning, but once you've committed to it, once you've really moved into something, people are going to hold you to that. So if you're going to change your mind, do it now. Otherwise, commit and really fully commit and go all in, and you'll see good results with that. Breaking cycles. So we're just in the shadow, if you're watching live, of the last retrograde. Recently ended on the 17th, so the 18th. Everything past that's been pretty good. For about 7 days past that period, you'll still have the energy that allows you to release. By November, you should be fully out of that. Things should be sort of awesome. So I feel like the energy is great for you in November. But if you're watching live, there might be a few loose ends that you're trying to tie up. Old commitments, old habits, things that you're wondering about. So this is the time to do that if you're watching. Even the beginning of the month, again, I get a little bit of flexibility, and it makes sense because it's right on the heels of Halloween, All Souls Day, things like that, Day of the Dead. So the energy is more malleable, and as the veil is thinner, so you're going to have access to more intuition, and there's going to be a little bit more influence from spirit that's coming through. So end of October, beginning of November, still flexibility, partly because of the things that we'll be looking at there. By the way, I'll be doing a collective reading on Halloween on the 31st at 9 a.m., so feel free to join me. But we'll talk about stuff like this. It'll be like connecting with all of our ancestral energy or anyone that's passed, and also using that malleable point to make a difference. So Sagittarius, I think you would especially benefit from joining if you'd like to. Everyone's always welcome to those. So you can make or break a cycle. If you make a cycle with the Eight of Cups, what's cool about that is it'll stick. So just like I said, if something didn't stick before, you have a better chance of having it successfully ignite or take root in November. So this is the time to try again. One of the things that could help you initially is the ability to brainstorm, to look at things from a different perspective. So we love the Seven of Cups for that. The Seven of Cups can also be a little bit of it can be a challenging card, because you could be at this sort of like fork in the road where there's more than one opportunity that look really good. It's sort of like, well, that would be nice, but so would that. And how about this? So you're going to have to close your eyes, tune into your heart, tune into your third eye a little bit, and think. But of all of these, there's one that sings a little bit louder, that feels a little bit more exciting to me. And that's what I want you to do. So brainstorm a bit, but don't let it completely overwhelm you. Seven of Cups always requires a little bit of discernment and an eventual decision. And ultimately, again, that's where you're being led toward the end of this month, is towards judgment. All right. I love what I see in the near future. So we have Three of Wands and then Judgment. The Three of Wands is your near future. Judgment is your future. The card is reversed. So again, with needing to basically just be patient a little bit. Now, this particular Three of Wands is kind of cool. It's almost like he's using a rope, and you can see the rope kind of like a helicopter blade moving around. So it's almost like lassoing in certain things. I love an active Three of Wands, and we have it here. Three of Wands, when it's passive, when the person's up on the hill looking at the ships coming in, I think to myself, that's a missed opportunity to do a little bit more, make it happen a little faster if you want to. So this is a hands-on Three of Wands, and it's saying you might actually be able to change things a bit. If you're not happy with the speed, then look at why it's happening slower. Could you show a little bit more engagement or initiative? Do you need to have a different person kind of working with you? Ultimately, though, trusting in manifestation is going to be key. Things are already happening. Again, they could be happening beneath the surface as well. So maybe just opening your eyes up and seeing the big picture, getting a bird's eye view, would be very helpful as well. But ultimately, I see success coming through for you. And your biggest challenge is, I think, figuring out how to keep all of this lassoed in, keeping control over the changing energy and the new opportunities, okay? We have an Ace of Pentacles. coming through representing you, your soul, yourself. The card is reversed. So I've been seeing a lot of pentacles reversed for various signs over the past month, which is showing personal investment, deciding to take something and put more energy into yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. Some of you may have an offer on your table for a new place to live, or someone that's going to buy your house, or a new job. The thing with this, when it's reversed, is there's something about it that perhaps doesn't feel quite balanced or right for you. Remember what we said with the Knight of Swords here. It's okay to kind of get the red line. If there's a contract, cross out what you don't like, ask some questions, get someone to rewrite or to initial a change. So you could ask for more, for sure, with this, a little bit more money, a little bit more in the terms of the contract. And you may want to invest more in yourself. That's going to require taking from one area and putting it in another. And so that's where some balancing will be necessary. But when we look at the near future, it's a good card. And we look at the future, it looks pretty good to me as well, because this is rebirth. And this is being able to rise above challenge. So I feel good about where you're headed. I think there's a little bit of sharpening of the pencil that has to happen, or the pen here, to kind of figure out what you want and make sure that it's all being represented in the contracts. Okay. The environment looks pretty good here. We have the King of Cups. So it is a good time for new love, but there could be someone around you, for those of you in existing relationships, or who simply are needing to be there for like a big group of people, where you're feeling tapped out. This is someone who has extra baggage, and they are extra, as we would say nowadays. So they need a lot. They're going through things. It could even be someone that's kind of like a drama queen or king, where everything kind of requires the fireworks display, kind of going back to what we talked about in the channeled messages. So for you, it's going to be really important to not let yourself get sort of pulled under the current here. You want to be the one that's showing a sense of calm and leadership, acknowledging what's going on with that person, not diminishing and not condescending at all, but also saying, yeah, but we're going to be all right on this. So being that voice of reason is going to be very important. And when it comes to your own passion, rein it in so that people can hear what you have to say without either the stress or anxiety or the overexcitement, because that can also kind of kill a particular communication, get in the way. So examples of this would be, if you're interviewing and you're too enthusiastic, it can be sometimes seen as someone who needs it too much, wants it too much. There's this weird dance with manifestation and even relationships where just a little bit of restraint is good. You want to show engagement, you want to smile, you want to put the energy out there, but you also want to see what they have to offer. So if you beam out so much of your own emotions, it's going to be like a tide that washes them over. So it needs to be a little bit more of like give and take, just like the ocean. Tides come in, then they go back. And I talked in Scorpio about negotiations here being a dance. I would say relationships have that same sort of cadence and rhythm. So let both sides kind of show their cards. Don't put all of your cards on the table, to use sort of like a card playing metaphor. Obviously, I'm putting the cards on the table for you, but when you're playing a game like poker or something like that, you want to keep a little bit back and see what the other person's showing there. So that's what I see here, is let them show a little bit of interest too. And that lets them know that you're worth the work too. So there's a little bit of that. I'm not into playing games, but I will say when it comes to energy, if you've ever been with someone who's too distant or overly affectionate, it can be off-putting. I love dogs. My puppy is super zen. And actually, when I first got Apollo, I wanted him to, I wish that he could lick me a little bit more and everything, but he had a tough start. So it took a long time for him to trust me. But now he's crazy. When we watch TV, he'll just sit there and lick me and everything. And it was trust. He taught me a lesson with that, is that he wanted to wait and see if I was worth the energy. And I guess I passed the test with that. But if you've ever met someone's dog that can't control themselves, like let's say they jump on you constantly, they're licking you or even biting you and stuff like that, it's too much love, it's too much play, and it can be too much. Or if someone talks too much or they're touching you too much, it's about distance and understanding how much to push the energy out. So there's something with that for you. I've almost never read that card that way, but that's what I'm seeing is extra. I'm glad you guys like him. He's just listening in the background saying, all right, sounds good, Sagittarius. All right, let's take a look now at hopes, fears, and opportunities. So some of you are working with a lot of heavy energy from people around you. This is one of the best Nine of Swords illustrations I think I've seen, because it shows the codependencies that we have and the cord connections that we have to others. This person's stress is not necessarily their own. This person could be carrying stress from a lot of people in their life. So one of the things that would be really great to do is to clear old connections. We sometimes forget that we hold energy even from like when we were kids, or in younger days, and also even just like a few years ago. Old jobs, old loves, old friendships, sometimes they take residence in our mind. So this is a chance for you to say, okay, I was a different person then, and maybe I could have done things differently. Maybe they could have done things differently. How about I just kind of like cut this energy out? I'm going to release myself, and allow for both of us to live a freer life. So you have a chance now to kind of let go. Some people are worried that cutting a single cord means that you can't connect to someone. That's not right. Cord cutting usually involves clearing out energy that is heavier or one way. So if someone's sort of sucking your energy, you can always stop that. You can just say no, and you just yank the cord, or you can touch the cord and imagine light going to both ends and severing it. You can pull back your energy. You can give them back their energy and say it's now sealed. And you can kind of, if you can feel it, sometimes I can actually feel when I do a cord cutting release. Sometimes I do it with Archangel Michael, for instance, or even Uriel, and I can actually feel them pull the cord out. So then I can touch wherever the cord was, because we can cord in different areas. So maybe someone who didn't like what you said and was telling you to always be quiet, the cords are around your mouth, like your throat. For those of you that might have people that tried to limit your thoughts, they may be in your head space. For someone who's still stuck in your heart space, they might be right here. If it's power, it might be right here. So the cords can be in different places. Those types of cords are not beneficial. We almost always have a heart connection to someone, a nice clear line, but the other ones can tie you down or hold you back. So when you clear those, basically what you allow, a simple thought will record you to somebody, reconnect you, but you can now create better, higher frequency connections. Okay, so let go of the lower frequency ones, the one of fear and limitation and anger and the grudges and all that stuff. Build higher ones based on love and hope and that kind of stuff. Okay. Some of you just need to focus on how you're sleeping. You could be so busy during the day that by the time you get to sleep, your mind can't stop, and you need to do a better job of easing into the sleep period of your life. So taking a walk, making sure that you turn off the television, maybe shifting to reading a book, listening to music that soothes you, and then clearing out the space in which you sleep is going to be key, making sure that there's no clutter, that the colors are welcoming and calming. Colors like, this is a great color, blue, green. Honestly, you would want to avoid colors like orange and yellow in the bedroom, but soothing colors like blues and greens are okay. You can have a little bit of black, but you should probably not have, I wouldn't want to sleep in black sheets. I would say blue and green are great. White is fantastic, of course, the old standby. But if you do this, complement it with some with pillows and maybe a different sheet underneath that will be like a more soothing color. This is good for absorbing. It's not bad. It's a protective color, but if you really want to calm yourself, blues and greens would be great, actually. So even this color, this sort of pumpkin behind me, that's kind of a nice teal, that's a great color as well. But big, bright colors may be a little bit harder for you to kind of go to sleep, like chartreuse or neon colors, or orange can be okay depending on it, but if it's bright, it might be difficult. So take a look at your room and see, does this make me feel at ease? Is there anything that I could do with the color here that would help it a bit? And that could help. And then also maybe making sure if you have a television that you turn it off, maybe don't have a television or cover it up or something like that, so that when you sleep, that energy also isn't kind of impeding. All right. Those are the main things that I see with that. Now, as we look at the Judgment card, a big decision is unfolding and has probably already been internally made for many of you. Acceptance is one of the key pieces of the Judgment card. And it's hard sometimes. If we look really close, there's a person sort of rising up from smoke, or they have this sort of like film or a veil. So if you look really close, you can see the person coming out of the veil there. And it almost looks like they're coming out of the horn, like Gabriel's horn that you usually see in the judgment card. So judgment comes through when either we've made a decision or someone else has made a decision. Because it's upright, I feel like you understand that this is the way. But sometimes there is a little bit of disbelief with the judgment card. Like, is this really happening? Should I really do this? Am I really ready? This can happen up to the final moment. So when you're signing a marriage certificate or transferring the car to someone else or buying a house or selling a house or doing something, it's the moment when you're signing thinking, should I really do this? But you sign. So there's a little bit of doubt and you want to work through that. Make sure that if there is doubt, make sure that you can kind of allay your concerns and know that sometimes butterflies are just a part of the process. Once you've done all the research, you just sometimes have to take that leap. And the Fool here is showing you that we really have this is the new beginning. This is the sort of like commitment to it. So you're already starting it. And then at some point you're going to be asked to commit to it. So there you go. I feel like it's good for you though, because if we take the center card, we've got the Fool, then we have the Three of Wands showing that you're on a path where you're going to see a positive return. And then we have the Judgment card, which is just saying that I think you'll feel good with this afterwards. It is a card of renewal, rebirth, new beginnings, rising above. So if there's been any failure or anger or disappointment, this is about the phoenix rising from those ashes. Okay. Really good energy so far. So let me just take a quick drink and we're going to expand the forecast to look at health, wealth, love, and destiny. Starting with your health card, I really like what we see here. It says flip it upside down and question your beliefs. This is the part of you that's saying, like, why not look at this from a different perspective? What if everything that's happening has brought me some sort of a hidden blessing? Sometimes it's hard to see that. This card was reversed, but the cool thing with this is kind of like, Milky Way galaxy, like a spiral galaxy. It really doesn't matter which way you look at it. This looks more like Andromeda, if you've ever seen illustrations of Andromeda, but because it's got a little bit more of a ball of energy, where ours is more of like a spiral. So anyway, what I'm looking at here is that depending on how you flip your perspective, it might be more beneficial. So things that would be an example of this would be sometimes you're not able to meet a new person until you have to move, and maybe you have to move because the apartment complex that you're living in is being sold, and it forces a change in location, which connects you to a new person, which might help you find a new job, which then may help you find a home in the future or something. And it's like this domino effect. But the one thing that kind of wasn't cool has to happen so that the other connections can happen. So, and you've probably noticed this too in circles of friends. Sometimes you end up being friends with a friend of a friend of a friend, and then that ends up being your really close one, and you lose that initial connection. So whatever you're going through right now that feels like it's really tough, it might be like that old connection that faded away. Don't let it take over and think, well, I can't wait to see what's next because this I wasn't in love with. I'm going to be more awake and aware of opportunities, and I'm going to trust that I'm being nudged in a better direction. Okay, so flip it around, see it from a different angle. It'll help you feel better, and you may actually see a blessing that's always been there. Let's look at some specific health cards as well. I want you to just move, and move however feels right for your body. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. Standard disclaimer applies here. But things that the Fool card could represent are like walking, gentle movement, swimming, yoga, just movement that doesn't require great amounts of physical activity, but allows for your blood to start moving through your body, for your energy to start shifting around, for your endorphins to start kicking in. So gentle activity would be really, really important to you, especially for those of you that might be suffering with insomnia, bad dreams, or a difficult time sort of like releasing stress. So that's one thing, is just light physical activity. Again, checking in with healthcare professionals to make sure that what makes sense for you makes sense. So you'll sort that out. The other thing here is some of you are having concentration issues. If you're trying to work on one thing, you're thinking about something else. This could be because you've moved past a point of wanting to be where you're at. The Judgment card can indicate that you're done. Everything you needed to learn at a job, at school, in some walk of life, you've got it. So now you're just kind of like going through the paces is the phrase, but you're just kind of clocking in and clocking out, but not necessarily feeling that sense of attachment or fulfillment. So if you're bored, busy and bored, that's a sign that it's time to shake things up a little bit. Remember that the whole energy is about fireworks and movement and transformation. So I've been busy and bored before, and it's frustrating because you still have to get work done, but you're thinking about 10,000 other things. So this is encouragement to find something where you're more engaged. If you're thinking about someone, some of you may need, and we'll look at this more when we go to the relationship reading in a second, you may be fixated on an old energy in your life, or there could be someone in your life that's leaving you hanging, because the 8 of Cups can be sporadic and the 7 of Cups can be thinking about someone. So there could be this sort of on and off again, hooking up with someone occasionally, or someone coming into your life, but only when it's convenient for them, even as a friend or family member. So it's like this sort of sporadic energy that's difficult to predict, and it's always making you wonder, like, why have I not heard from? Is it something about me? It's not. So what you want to think about is, again, connecting with people that are more consistent. So a lack of consistency could be part of this. If you still have trouble focusing, maybe talking to someone would help, a counselor, a therapist, etc., just to make sure that you can kind of sort out why the distraction is there. But that's what I'm picking up on with that. I feel like other people needing a lot or leaning a lot on you could be creating some of this stress as well. So limits and boundaries and getting help for that person will be key. All right. So those are the main things that I'm seeing in health. Whatever's going on, though, there's another way to look at it. There might be another opportunity, just like the 4 of Cups, something waiting for you to grab, and you're just not aware of the blessing that you have in front of you. And once you look at it from another angle or a different person's perspective, you'll feel better. All right, looking at wealth, which is career and life purpose, how you're spending your time, energy, and money. We have the tree, which is reversed. The card says grounding. It's actually the card for this deck, so it's kind of cool that we got the title card here. But with the tree card reversed, what we're looking at here is actually a reflection. So if we look at it upright, you see there's a pool, we see the reflection, but it could also represent, and the cool thing in the reflection is it almost looks like, I think the leaves are, the branches are empty here. So sometimes you can't see something. That doesn't mean that it's not there or that it won't come back. So when you're looking at the difference between like summer and winter, we can see the change happening in spring and fall. So we know that something's coming to life or going dormant. But if you just look at the dead looking tree in the middle of winter, you can't tell, is it dead or is it dormant? So for many of you, there's this question with parts of your career and parts of your sort of like productive life. There are pieces where you wonder, can I still do it? I think you can. I think it's just dormant. And I think all you need to do is to give it a little bit of nurturing. So if you were trained in a certain expertise, but you went a different path, but you're now called back to that original path, and you wonder, am I too old? Am I too rusty? Can I still do it? You can still do it. You just have to kind of like get serious about it and ground yourself in that. If there's people around you that are lacking that sort of inspirational energy, if you have too many of those dormant trees around you, sometimes it feels like you just want to go dormant. So you need to find a place where that's more indicative of where you're at. So I feel like there's the potential to, again, to kind of like reinvigorate, reignite. And if you're in a workplace, a family, or a school where people are constantly kind of in that dormant energy, that's not the right fit for you either, okay? So can you still do it? Yes. Could the environment be making you sleepy or bored? Possibly. Are you going to do something about it? That's up to you. Let's take a look at some of the other cards here with respect to work or career or life purpose. Clearly, the main thing here is about moving. So if you stay in the same place, whatever that is, you have to move. There has to be some movement. And you alone can make that decision. If you've reached stagnation, this is the card of rebirth. In many decks, it's actually called rebirth. I think one of my decks, there's a little baby coming out. It's almost like the answer to, it's the opposite of the Fool or whatever. Like you see another baby coming in on that one. So there's a chance to reinvent yourself if you want to. Ultimately, once you've made your mind up and once you take an active role with the 3 of Wands, we see positive gains and positive movement on that. The main thing for many of you is getting lost in your thoughts. Maybe overthinking it, maybe being pulled in too many directions. Pick a path, go with it. And if you want to go in another direction, you can do that, all right? So some decisions and some work from you is going to be required. think that's it. One last thing, when I'm looking at this, a lot of times we'll use the metaphor of a glass ceiling, but the same thing can happen here if you've, like bonsai. The reason bonsai trees can be so small is specifically they prune the roots and they keep them root bound, and then they trim them down. They're basically keeping it small. And if you've ever had a planted tree, it's only going to grow so tall based on the size of the roots and the pot. If you get it in a bigger pot, it'll grow more. So some of you just need room to grow. You need a little bit more leg room. You need a little bit more opportunity to reach in a different direction. And if whoever it is around you, family, work, or even your partner in marriage, is not giving you what you need, then that's something you have to work on. Okay, that's the limit. It's not within, it's external, or it's a thought that you can kind of prune. Looking now at love, we have meandering. We have time to put on my glasses is what we have. Meandering pathway, and it says flow. Too fancy of a font there. So the meandering pathway, what were basically fancy word. They could have said winding path. So this is a winding path. Not always we're not always going to have a neat and tidy entry from point A to point B. And so sometimes that winding path or meandering path is going to bring the prosperity or the flow of something new to you, and it could actually help you. So we have to sometimes get a little bit off the beaten path to see something, to say, oh yeah, that's what I was interested in. I had forgotten about this. If you've ever just sort of been, I call it shopping in your closet, cleaning your closet out or something. If you're thinking, what should I wear? And you go through and you forgot that even existed in there. So before you go to the store, shop in your closet, see what's in there, and you might find something that you forgot. So the same thing is true of a path. Sometimes if we just have like the blinders on, if you go straight path, it's kind of like having these horse blinders on. But if you go here or here, you'll discover something new or discover something that you've forgotten. Okay? So I like that quite a bit. This looks a little bit like Gandalf in, what is it? The Return of the King. I think it was the last movie where he was like Gandalf the White. But anyway, it's that sort of energy. And that's a transformational sign too, because spoiler alert, but yeah, basically he dies and comes back. So there's a rebirth energy. So that's very closely attached to the judgment. So some of you have this chance to come back after a difficult sort of situation. So how does this relate to relationships? You could meet someone when you decide to do something that you might otherwise think is a waste of time. So if you're invited to a party and you think, yeah, but I've got this thing I've got to work on and I should really just focus on that. If you're invited to go, have drinks or coffee with a friend, and they're like, yeah, you should check it out. I'm going to have some of my, you should go. There's probably some other people there that you could connect with. It can also be changing the way that you normally kind of do things with your partner, deciding instead of, every Saturday we do this, every Sunday we do this, and change up the flow a little bit. You take on a little bit more, they take on a little bit more. You do something different. You decide to take a road trip. You never know where that adventure is going to lead. I feel like changing up the energy is going to be really important in relationships. Changing up your path could help you find a relationship or find new connections. All right, let's specifically look at it in the 3 different facets. So for those of you in a relationship, looking for a relationship, or single, happy, and not focused on it, but still curious what's happening. All right, so if you're looking for a relationship, hello, we have the spark coming through loud and clear, ignite your passion. So it's actually a good time if you're in a relationship, but it is about igniting or reigniting that spark. So for some of you, it's gotten a little bit maybe predictable or boring. So this is about trying something different. As a key thing that some of you might be dealing with this month, your other partner may be preoccupied. You might be preoccupied. One of the things that's coming through is possibly like school, work, money. So the resources are kind of tagging at you guys a little bit. One of the things you can do together is to make some future plans. I would actually prefer like the 2 of Wands for a love reading, because that's about saying like, I can't wait to see you or whatever. But the 3 of Wands is good. This tells me that whatever energy you decide to put into something, you should see a positive return on it. So for those of you where things are going swimmingly, they can even be a little bit better if you decide to be spontaneous, to shake it up a little bit. You'll have a lot of fun doing that. And it could surprise you. There could be this great sort of exchange between the 2 of you. If your partner's stressed out because that Cups card was reversed, then this might be a good release and a nice way to get them out of that space or that energy. Now, some of you are at more of a cross, like not even a fork in the road. It's sort of like you're going to go this way or this way. And it feels like there's a lot of stress for some of you. And you have to decide what's important here. Is it worth the energy? Is it worth the work? Because the Fool card, as much as it can be playful, can also mean moving on. So for those of you that want to do the extra work this month, I see positive gains because of the Three of Wands. Some of you are just at a point, however, that it's enough is enough. These partnership cards can represent like work partnerships too, not just love. So for some of you, it's not worth the stress. And that's okay. It's okay. I feel like many of you have done the thinking and then some. So if you've figured out what you want, it'll be all right, okay? If you decide to work on it, it will also be all right. But that decision's up to you. And there's not a lot of like difficult cards in here. We didn't get like the Tower, the Devil, the Ten of Swords or anything. We have Nine of Swords, which is stress or anxiety, but most of the cards are good. So you get to decide what feels good in the heart level for you. So if you want to work on it, work on it. If you want to go in a different path, then do that, because I see a lot of productivity, okay? So that's really a choice that's up to you. But knowing what's on each other's mind, kind of checking in is going to be important. And I think taking a little bit of a time, a different date night or something like that could help out. If you're looking for love, I already alluded to the fact that it would be advantageous to say yes to an invitation. It would be advantageous to maybe even put yourself out into a social engagement that you wouldn't normally like, or you can invite people as well. You can be the spark, you can be the initiator if you want to. The things that could be kind of pulling you back a bit, I do feel like everybody this month in this sign has to deal with their money and with their obligations a little bit, their commitments. So take a look at your budget. Take a look at what you've said you were going to do and make sure that that stuff gets done first. If you do pull in love this month, it's a deep soul connection. The Judgment card indicates someone from your past, like not this lifetime, but a past lifetime. This is you're reincarnated. So it's a rebirth card. It's a second chance. So because it's karmic and because second chance energy is associated with it, it should be easier, but there might be a little bit of fear or doubt that comes through with this karmic relationship, because it feels like it was really close before to kind of being what you wanted, but it wasn't. So this time around, you want to focus on making sure that you just trust yourself, trust the other person. I think trust is going to be the big factor in new relationships. The way that the person's coming in, it's literally in your environment, is water sign. So Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces could be coming in for some of you. And they are very passionate. I will say, whoever they are, there's a lot of energy, and it could be more than you're used to. So just feel that out a little bit. All right. Now, for those of you that are single and happy or unattached and unconcerned about that, good for you. Let's look and see how people are going to be interacting with you this month. First of all, any interactions that you do have with them should be positive. We have the Three of Wands. It's a really good month for teamwork. In fact, people want what you have to offer. So whether it's intellect, creativity, leadership, you're actually in demand. One of the things that you're going to be challenged with doing this month is finding a way to calm people down around you. It's kind of, no matter how you look at relationships this month, it's going to be important for you to be a voice of calm, a voice of leadership. And you might have to really work on your empathic skills to feel it out. Ask questions. The Seven of Cups can be a little bit of an interrogator. How about this? Why is this happening? Especially when paired with the Knight of Swords reversed. So ask those questions. That's a really good tip. If you're kind of stuck and you don't know what to say, just say, tell me more. Tell me more about that. How are you feeling? Or how can I help you? That's if you don't know what to say or what to do, just say, well, how can I help you? What can I do to give you some support here? It's a good tip for those of you that aren't sure if the person wants advice or just a listening ear. Let them tell you, and that'll be a great thing. Ultimately, some of you might be asked to join in on something new. This can be a job offer. Like I said, be discerning, be picky, redline it if you need to. But you're not going to be able to avoid people, but all of the partnerships that I see are very advantageous. Okay? So if you're not looking for love, you're probably not going to find it this month, but you are going to have really great success in leadership, possibly securing a contract or deal, and you may have to work a little bit harder to calm people down. Okay? Let's move on to your final card. And this is what I was just alluding to and what I talked about way at the beginning in Channeled. And then again, when I saw the Knight of Swords here, clear the air. So the caption on this says clear the air. We have this princess looking out at a coming storm and possibly a tower event in the distance. I actually saw a coming storm for Scorpio. Lots of, that's a hard phrase to say. And so because your sign is right after that, sometimes there's a little bit of overflow. So I would say for some of you, especially if you have a Scorpio placement, there could be some issues going on where you just have to deal with deciding. Actually, I should say this. You have to decide, do you want to be the agent of change, or do you want to be dealing with the aftermath of something? I always prefer to be an agent of change, involved with the sort of active transmuting. And that's what everything was coming through this month is kind of suggesting for you. But if you don't, there's still going to be some changes that are coming through that you have to deal with. I would say get ahead of the tower, okay? Clear the air, say what's on your mind, speak your concerns, okay? I think that's super important. So let's go ahead now and go a little bit deeper into, look at the big idea. I feel called today to just pull a card for the big idea, and then I'll talk about anything else, and then we'll go into the next portion. So pulling to your spirit guides, to mine, what's the big idea overall for this sign this month for Sagittarius? Ace of Wands, the card is reversed, but it's a super powerful card. This is you, this is fire, and it's basically saying, light that flame. Whenever a card is reversed, it is about going within. So don't overthink, don't underestimate, do take that idea and do something with it, okay? Ultimately, we want to see you use that. And it's so interesting. Bamboo is it's a wand. It's you know, it's basically a tree, right? So it's so interesting that you would cut a bamboo rod and then throw it in a fire, and it's a firework. And what we're basically seeing here is a wand, which is just like that. So the symbol that I had came through here as your big idea, which is you know what to do. It's a good idea. There may be some delays, but you can still do it based on the channel messages that I saw. You have to keep a clear mind, and you have to commit to it. That's the big idea, and then do something with that. Everything else doesn't matter as much. Get back to that main centering idea. For some of you, you should be able to even like write it on a card like this. Back when I was a manager for people, when we had to do sort of the annual reviews, they're called many different things, but when you meet with your boss once or twice a year, I would have them write down 3 different goals, like one that was easy, one that was in the middle, one that was a stretch. But for you, I would say just write down the big thing that you want to work on for this year. So as you approach maybe your birthday or New Year's or whatever your kind of pivotal moment is where you think like, all right, this is what I'm looking to change in the year ahead, put it down. Put one overarching idea. You can put another list of things too, but come up with the big plan, the big movement, and that's going to center you. When you know, everything follows, all right? That's your big idea. Let's move on to blessings and blocks. So we're going to take a look now at blessings. Blessings are opportunities presented to you, gifts from the divine. And the question is, are you ready to receive that gift from the divine? Let's see what's coming through here. Ooh, okay, so this deck is actually called the Fountain. This is the extra card. And for those of you that have watched 2001: A Space Odyssey, this looks just like the Stargate at the end where they're going into the monolith, or even like 2001. Or not 2001, but there's also like 2010. 2001's a lot better. But this is basically, to me, indicative of that transformative moment. This is also like the fireworks explosion, right? So the blessing this month is a surprise. It's something that you didn't anticipate. And the question is, are you ready to kind of go into that Stargate moment? Are you ready to go into the unknown? It's a little scary. When the character in the movie went into the Stargate, it transformed him. He became like the Star Child, and wasn't quite human after all of that. But this is not as scary. This is just you stepping into something, like I said at the very beginning, that's going to change some aspect of who you are. And the Fool, as we were looking at this, the Fool and Temperance, it's patience with change. The change takes a little bit of time, and we can't always see how it's all going to pan out, but we trust in that. So I feel very optimistic and very excited about what's coming through. You're getting lots of signals of positive change. So can't control some things. And sometimes when it happens, it's what you least expect, when you least maybe want it. but I like this. So I feel like there's a big shift that is going to come through, a big opportunity that will be put into your lap. And the question is, can I embrace this right now? Am I ready? Okay. This window probably is brief. This one will open and close. As I'm reading it, I feel a little bit of a pain in the solar plexus. So for some of you, it's sort of like, but I want to control it. But why did this happen now? And so just go with it. Okay. Let's take a look at potential blocks. What could get in the way of the fountain, the unexpected blessing? So again, to me, one of the cards that's probably closest to is the star. So this could be meeting someone. This could be stepping into something really cool. This could be being put into the sort of forefront and expected to perform or do something. But you'll be fine. You're going to discover an unexpected gift or capacity. So what is the block for you? We have the Two of Cups in reverse. So some of you, for those of you that are going through a breakup, it could be that you are focusing on losing that person and it gets in the way of like a job interview or a new connection, maybe even meeting someone new. There's too much of a connection to the person that didn't want you. Some of you may also be focusing on the fact that you're not with someone and that is negating sort of where you're at. So kind of what Spirit's saying is it's not who's around you, it's you that should be the focus. And this will sort itself out because it's still the Two of Cups. So you deserve someone who wants you, supports you, and is there for you just as much as you're there for them. And what you can do this month is throw up that sort of desire, that wish, like they are the cups into the sky. Release whatever it is. Say, I'm looking for this type of partnership, this type of opportunity. And I'm going to focus on these things, and I'm open to receiving something even better than that which I stated here. So I believe that there's a lot of growth and opportunity. The past is the past. No more rear view mirror. I have to credit that. That was, I was talking to my mom the other day, and she was talking about one of her cousins who said that at a family member's funeral. And I really like that because the person who passed was very forward looking. So that inspired today's reading there, that portion of it. So keep looking like the dragon that I saw to the east, to the rising sun. There's someone or something else out there that's waiting. This Two of Cups can be an attachment to something that you really loved and really wanted to keep with you, but some things aren't meant to kind of always be there. So there'll be something else on the horizon. God and the universe always have a bigger plan, another option, another path. And like this meandering card here, if you just veer a little bit this way or a little bit this way, you might meet whatever that is, okay? So could also be unexpected love or partnership coming in. And it could distract you because you're on this other path. Maybe you're close to graduation. Maybe you're finishing up a project. Maybe you just got advancement at work. And now all of a sudden, because you're not focused on anything else, wow, now you met someone amazing. So your challenge, it's not necessarily a block. Your challenge this month will be balancing that, okay? So it's either balancing the loss or the desire for something, or guess what? You manifested it, and careful what you wish for because now it's here and you got to figure out how to deal with that. So relationships get in the way a little bit, but you're going to sort it out. Your cards are in a good space. You just have to figure out what you want and how you're going to commit to creating these boundaries and saying what you need to say. Definitely speaking up is going to be necessary there. All right. So you actually have a good block. I think overall, it's just about sorting out where you fit in the mix and where someone else does, and making sure that they don't take you off the path of achieving a goal that you've been working on for a while. Okay. Great. All right. Let's move on to viewer's choice. I'll have you vote on something, and then I will do a card while you're voting. I'll probably do my own reader's choice, but let's look at some viewer's choice questions here. So give me a moment here to set it up. So the way that this is going to work is that for those of you that are on a computer or a mobile device, you'll be able to vote. If you're on a TV, you won't be able to, but we have pretty good participation here and a great crowd. So I trust the people here. All right. I actually want to look at the Seven of Cups a little bit. So how to focus is going to be key. So I'm going to actually put Seven of Cups. How to stay focused. That would be one thing that I'd like to possibly look at, depending on what you guys choose. The other thing is clearing the air, because I really like that card, this distant thunder, kind of stopping something from getting out of hand before it gets out of hand. So we'll do the, I'm going to put Tower, how to clear the air. And we'll add a third for good measure. And so when we're looking at the health, looking at it from a new perspective, so I'm just going to write in healthier perspectives. And you can vote on the one that you want. All right, so you do that. And I want to kind of go with the metaphor that I was talking about earlier. So I'm going to do a soul path question while you guys are looking at this, which is kind of like how to allow that spark to be carried somewhere else. Like, I think it's more about release. So I want to look at a card about releasing the need to control. And then we'll take a look at which one of your choices wins on the viewer's choice. So releasing control. All right, we have the King of Swords in reverse. So for some of you, with the King of Swords in reverse here, this is really about making sure, with control in particular, that, gosh, it's going to be a little challenging for some of you, because I feel this month that you could be around someone who out-talks you or tries to talk over you. And so one of the things that you'll need to do this month is make sure that your opinion is stated. And then after you've said your word, to just sort of like let it go. Because sometimes when you work with someone who doesn't listen, you're going to have a difficult time getting it done. And it could get in the way of you also producing something or releasing something. So if there's too much criticism, if there's too much talk, if there's someone who doesn't allow your own thoughts to kind of breathe, I think what you really want to focus on with that is creating some separation between you and between them. And then also being a person of your word. So the King of Swords, especially reverse, would say something and do it. So walk the walk and talk the talk. I think for you, it is just about taking that step. I know it's easier said than done, but I feel like communication could get in the way. As much as, you know, my sun is my sun rising, not my sun, my sun sign is Libra, so I love communication. But sometimes you have to be careful. Sometimes you just have to do and not necessarily say. So I think words could get in the way. So if you need to do something, do it. Maybe stop talking and start doing. I think that's the better interpretation of this. And then if there are people around you that don't let you talk or don't allow you to do what you need to do, it might just be walking your own path. And that's what this card is really about. All right, let's take a look now at what's winning. It looks like Seven of Cups, how to stay focused. I think that's a great one. I'm going to end the poll now. We'll give it a second to finalize, and then we're going to see what's going on. All right, so Seven of Cups, how to focus. We've all been there where it's hard to kind of concentrate. It won by about 43%, so that's good. All right, what's going on with the Seven of Cups? All right, so we have the World card here, which is really saying move on. And also, for many of you, I think you could be making things bigger than they need to be. So if you're focusing on potential bad news, then you're blowing it out of proportion. But if you're focusing on all these other little things, you're missing the big picture. Now is the time to act. So focus on what's going to really bring you to this end. Stay expansive and reach out. So one of the things that some of you may have gotten into the habit of, because we've been locked down, we've been working remotely, because work is not what it used to be, is kind of going into a silo and going internal. So I see a lot of positivity and productivity coming out of meeting up with someone else. So share with a bigger audience or with a different audience. Go outside of this circle that you're talking to. So you need to connect with someone else that has a different perspective, not the folks that you've been working with or that you're partnered with. So the good news with this is everything's going to be okay. When I get the World card, this is like the best card ultimately. So I feel like if you could just stop worrying so much, stop worrying, do what you've set your mind to. You know, we went back to the beginning here. Just start working on this, and you're going to see positive trajectory almost immediately with that. Okay. And for many of you, whoever or whatever that future connection is to kind of bring this into the final phase, probably is not someone from your family, friend circle, or hometown. This is an outsider. So I actually see an outsider coming in that's going to help you feel really good about your perspective or your path. All right. So good stuff. Really great stuff. All right, let's do another poll here, if I can do it, to vote on what I'm gonna play as a final instrument in the meditation. The meditation works in two ways here. I'll set something up at the beginning. I'll play a singing bowl, and then I'm going to come back afterwards and read a final card. So if any of you have not received a message that you need and you have another question, you can scribble it down on the paper right now, or just hold it and say it out loud when I do that, and I'll help you out. Also, I'm really close to a milestone. I noticed we have a decent amount here today. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Maybe I'll hit it by the end of the week. So we'll see. I'm only about 150 away. So let's see what we can do. All right, let's see if I can do, I've never tried two polls, but I'm going to try. Yeah, you can do it. All right, so what instrument would you like me to play? And I'll hold them up while you're voting. The crystal pyramid or the singing bowl? Now that I have two, some of you are like, I missed the other one. Well, guess what? You can vote. All right, so here are the two different instruments that I can play. One is one that I've used for many, many years here, or at least a couple years, I should say. It's a singing bowl. So if you'd like me to use this, you can click on that. A new one that I've just started using and I haven't yet played for your sign is the crystal pyramid. So I'll give you guys a chance to look at that while I get things set up here in the meditation. And I may just let it go until I actually, because it's pretty close. Looks like the crystal pyramid's winning. All right, so for today's meditation, I like this sort of stargate that we're looking at. So let's imagine that we're going to walk into that energy of a stargate from outer space and allow for you to really transform and create whatever it is that you want. So looks like the crystal pyramid won. So thank you so much for taking part in that. And let's close our eyes and meditate. So I just want you to close your eyes and take a nice deep breath for a moment. See yourself on a solid surface. Let's imagine perhaps that we're on the moon, because it might be a little bit easier to get to outer space from there. So just imagine that you're on the lunar surface, and it's kind of a cool place to be because there's this triangulation between the sun, the moon, and the earth. So as you see yourself here at the top of this pyramid of energy, sitting on the lunar surface, I want you to look away from the sun toward the expanse of the larger Milky Way galaxy and the universe beyond that. Looking at our nearby neighbors, looking at Mars, looking beyond that, looking at big objects in the sky like Jupiter and Saturn and Neptune. Beyond that, even beyond Pluto and all the asteroids, going out into the deep depths of space. I want you to see a star in the distance, twinkling and inviting your energy toward it. Allow yourself to be grounded on the moon. And because light travels quickly, imagine that this beam of light from this star or from this star-like energy is calling you forward. As you travel through the light particles, you can see everything around you, all the different planets in our galaxy and the arms of the Milky Way, even perhaps past Andromeda, which we talked about earlier. I want you to just see yourself going towards this massive, bright object. If you want to imagine that it looks like what's in 2001, you can see that, this sort of almost flat but really bright surface. As you start to approach it, as you reach out toward it, you realize that on the inside, there are like infinite amounts of stars and light and energy. In the second movie, it begins with the phrase, "My God, it's full of stars." They cut that from the first movie, but I think that's important here. So imagine that this is a stargate. And as you enter into this stargate, it almost takes your breath away. So take a deep breath and allow yourself to move toward something new, something wonderful, something amazing, to quote the movie, something wonderful. So you're headed towards something wonderful. I want you now to just allow your mind to relax, your thoughts to expand, and to allow yourself to get closer to that something wonderful. Could be a relationship, could be a job, could just be this sense of joy and empowerment within. You decide and you plant that seed as you drift here into space. And just relax as I play the singing pyramid. and see what thoughts come your way. Slowly start to breathe again. Allow your breath to awaken you, to allow you to also connect with the visions that you've had and realize that your dreams are seated there in the universe now, ready to take shape, ready to take form. That spark of inspiration, that spark of intuition has been delivered, has been heard. All that's required from you now is trust and action. So the question is, are you ready to begin that path? Do you trust what you've been shown? Will you continue to foster growth in these areas here? Bringing back that energy, that light, allow a beam of light now to connect you back to your body, traveling just as quickly as you entered this portal. You can go back into your body. See yourself there on the top of the moon. Now using the triangulation energy to go back to Earth as well, bringing all of the journeys here and the information that we just got from your higher self, from that portal, back into your body, into your third eye, and into your physical self. Rub your hands together. Put your left hand on your heart, your right hand on top of that, and welcome back. Welcome back. All right. Think about your final question that you have for me, whatever it might be. And I'm going to start to shuffle the cards in front of me. All right, so it's a very good card, and I love the way the light is coming out from the sun here. We have the Eight of Wands, one of the more unique illustrations I've seen for Eight of Wands here. So it kind of really connects to the starlight energy that we were working with, or the portal energy. It's a yes. Eight of Wands, if you're looking for a yes-no answer, would be a yes, but there are some things to think about with it. First of all, I see a busy sort of period here before you. The Eight of Wands shows me that you're not alone, however. There's always a community energy with that, so reach out if you need it. But know that one of the things that you'll be tasked with doing is to basically keep the pace and keep up. There's a lot going on, and the speed with which it's happening could sort of be a lot. So just make sure that you pace yourself. You ask for help if you need it. But know this, that Eight of Wands is a very successful card, especially for those of you that are looking for improvements in work or business or school. Just shows like everything kind of going in the right direction. So I like what I see here. And I would say, yes, you're going to be busy. Yes, you can do it. Yes, you're on the right path. Also, you're not alone. So ask for that help if you need it. And what are we looking at? But the rising sun, the dragon that I talked about earlier on the eastern horizon. So look towards the future, not behind you. Okay. Back to what we talked about at the very beginning. All right. So beautiful messages today. A quick little mini review of the latter portion here again. Your big idea was summed up by the Ace of Wands reverse, which is saying, put the spark within, follow through on those ideas and don't overthink it. Your blessing this month was the fountain, which is expansion, which we just did in the meditation. The limit could be other people or fascination or fixation on others rather than self. So focus on self. Others could come into the picture, however, new partnerships, new love, and that could also distract you, but that's a good problem to have. When I was looking at reader's choice in the soul path, I just wanted to sort of see, I have to remember what the question was here. I have the Knight of Swords. Oh yeah, it was kind of like how to release the control issues that you had. So part of it is like doing and not saying, and then also standing up for yourself if you need to. There could be people that are just trying to talk over you or limit you. So that kind of goes into the whole theme of what we talked about. And then for the viewer's choice here, it really was just saying it's time now. Don't overthink things. The Seven of Cups can be limiting because we're worried about everything, but you're onto something. It's already started. You got to focus on tomorrow. And don't kind of get stuck in the quagmire of your head. And I love the final card here showing that, yeah, you're on a great path, actually. Keep looking toward the future. That was today's reading. I hope you enjoyed the meditation. I did solicit some advice on the singing bowl. I tried something different by kind of pulling it back when I was striking it. So hopefully that made it more palatable to the ear. I always listen to feedback. And thanks for voting. I thought that would be fun to give you a choice of instruments. Maybe I'll add more in the future, but for now I have two. And thank you everybody for that support. A couple of programming notes. Here is my schedule. So if you missed it earlier, here's the schedule. And I'll be reading again tomorrow for Capricorn. And I will have a collective on Sunday, like I always do on the 24th. And then next week, on Monday, the 25th, I'll be reading Aquarius. On Thursday, the 28th, I'll be looking at Pisces. And we have a special Halloween collective on October 31st. I love that. That's kind of like my favorite reading each year because it's just super special. I believe that we'll hit 300 by the weekend. So I'll try to decide if it makes sense to put a reading next week or maybe just make it something like the first Friday of November. We'll see. We're really close. So once I get there, I'll let you know, and then I'll put it up for members and for Patreon patrons a chance to sort of submit questions for that. Okay, super close. All right, so let's go ahead now, and let me just say thanks to everybody that joined, and we'll move on from there. A couple of final notes, actually, before I do that. My book is just about to turn 1 year old, so kind of cool because tomorrow on HBO Max, Dune is coming out. That was one of the books that I kind of compare it to. So it's kind of like Dune or Lord of the Rings. So if you like those sort of sweeping fantasy books, great. If you don't, just come here and we'll talk about other stuff. It's all good. No pressure. And like I said before, if you'd like to show some support, hit that thumbs up. Subscribe if you're brand new. It's a cool channel and a really great crowd here, I think. Anyway, I'm biased, but I like the team here. You can follow me on social media for recaps and reminders. I'm pretty good about putting story reminders up on all the social media platforms. So in case you don't know or you don't get the reminders here, you'll be able to find out. All right, let me take a quick look. I'm going to welcome in any new members or anybody that gave back today. So we'll start first with new members. Looks like we have a few that joined maybe before the show or during it. So I'll say hi to all of those that are new. Let's see here. So let's see, Ultra, Sheila, Rose Smith. It's a lot of things pushed together, but I think that's it. So thank you so much. Lulu looks like you rejoined, and Angela Stover, you rejoined as well. So welcome back. All right, let's say hello and thank you to those of you that were able to give a sticker today and say hello. Let's take a look at Sagittarius. All right, so we'll start with, I think it is Dilasha Jane. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. Healing Chronicles, Pooja Sharma, aka Mom Wise or Akamom Wise, Carolyn W, Andrea, thank you so much. Let's see, Tamilian66, Patrice W, great to see you again. Thank you very much. Tina, Vani, Miss Baxter, good to see you too. Amy B, and ZM. Thank you so much, everyone, for making today a really magical show. I appreciate your energy, and I just had a great feeling as I was kind of connecting with this, particularly with the fire that I was seeing with the fireworks and the dragon. And you actually got it here in your catalyst card, which is how you connect to your power. So don't let go of that spark. Don't give up. If there was one thing that kind of took you off that path, this is going to be a great month ahead. All right. Apollo has moved all the way behind me. he has another bed, but he moved it right behind me. He's so funny. So I'm going to pull Apollo up and we're going to say goodbye together because it's time to walk, buddy. You ready to walk? There we go. He says, we better walk, Dad. All right. Thanks, everyone. His face is all scrunched up, but lots of love from Apollo and I to you. We will see you soon. I'll be back again tomorrow and again on the weekend. Take care, everyone. And thanks again. Thanks again to Maria Margarita for showing up today and giving me some support in the way of moderation. I appreciate it. All right, guys. Lots of love and light. Take care. Bye-bye.